frankly, I didn't really even tell people that the business didn't go well. A lot of people assumed that it did, and I'll be honest with you, just like all men out there, high achievers, like, you don't want to look weak.
Yeah.
There's not a one size fits all place.
Sure.
It's figuring out who do you connect with and like, where do you think you're going to get the biggest growth?
Yeah.
And some guys need to literally be kicked in the ass. I don't have a lot of fears in life, but that's one of my only fears is I want my kids to want to spend time with me when they don't have to spend time with me.
Well, hey, Matt, to get us started today, I would love for you to kind of give us an understanding of the Lighthouse Brotherhood and why that's important to you and why you helping high-achieving men find community and accountability and just brotherhood is so important to you.
Yeah, one, I appreciate you having me on, Darren. And, just to kind of dive in, this is something that's been on my heart and spirit probably for the last decade. And we'll probably get into it on this podcast. But about 8 years ago, I made an attempt at launching something similar to this. At the time, I was bodybuilding. There was definitely a huge health focus in the men's group I was building back then. But I had a massive financial loss that kind of set that back. And so and I'll explain how God worked through that. But the brotherhood itself, the Lighthouse Brotherhood, it's interesting because about a year and a half ago, and I'm a pretty spiritual guy, and I also do, I'm a Christian, but I also do some like interesting spiritual modalities where I want to have the Holy Spirit talk with me. And I had a message kind of come to me that, I'm supposed to help a lot of men specifically and bring the family unit back to the world. And it was interesting because at first I started with my network. Like,
Sure.
I have some really high achieving guys in my network. And so I basically built a group chat. It's actually, I call it the Stud Muffin group chat, but interesting enough is they're great guys and I love them. They're my boys. Like, these are guys along my, across my life that I quote unquote have stayed friends with, which I know a lot of guys watching this, sometimes that's difficult to do. And the problem is it's just become a meme, like a meme chat where we send funny memes to each other. And I was hoping that it became more of a mini brotherhood that, one, not paid or anything like that. Just, hey, we're going to come together. And it never really came to fruition. And so I started really kind of sitting down with the idea of like, why should I start a men's group? I have you could probably see behind me, I have a couple other companies I run. Yeah. One of them is a traditional roofing business. The other one is business consulting. And interesting enough is in business consulting, 60% of my conversations are not around sales, marketing, how to grow their companies. It's limiting beliefs, family stuff, traumas they're facing. And these are high achieving men who, have built multi-million-dollar companies, but they're still struggling with all of that. And so basically, just to wrap this up and, we can dive deeper, but the goal is that myself included, not just, hey, I think I'm going to be this, the leader. It's more, I'm looking for I was looking for a brotherhood. Yeah. And I'm like, well, why don't I just build it? And so I brought on a partner named Ruslan, who now, and he's been awesome. And so we're looking to basically help as many men as we can, basically become a lighthouse, and we can get into that later.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it's been so cool to kind of sit with you guys over the last few months as we've started to work together on your content and your podcast and all the things that you're doing. But just to hear the heartbeat behind this, right? Like, you had that experience where you go, hey, I'm doing some things and I feel like this call, this pull, I want to make impact that's bigger than just my business per se, right? Because at this time, was business going well for you at this point?
Yeah. So, well, right now business is a boom. Like, we're blessed and highly favored. It's one of my statements. It's interesting because both businesses right now are doing real well. Obviously, we're going, just like any company, we're not perfect. Sure. We're going through learning curves. We're trying to scale, but both of them have grown rapidly. And we're right now with our roofing business, we're up 5x this year, which is, again, God's hand in the business. And then with the consulting business, we basically, over the last year and a half, we went from 0 to just under about a 1.5 million ARR for that company.
It's amazing.
And, we're super, and I got 2 amazing teams that we built over the last, call it a year and a half. But really what's really my passion is, and it's interesting because I'm going to use this quotation of life coaching.
Yeah.
And my whole life, I'm like, man, I really want a life coach, but then it's like, okay, in the world of coaching, there's so many different life coaches out there. And it's like, well, what do we actually do and who do we serve and what is going to be the greatest impact? And yes, we want to help millions and millions of men and families, and that's our goal. But for me, it's those one-off touches, and I can share some cool stories along the way that people's that I feel like God put us together and we were able to help them basically change their world, change their life, you know? So it's been a blessing.
Yeah, Matt. And what I love is that, you're somebody that, like you just said, you have 2 successful businesses, you have things working for you, blessed and highly favored, as you said, right? And then there's this thing, there's something that's underneath it that goes, I got more to give. I got more to help others with. I have this calling, this thing that is going, I got to invest here. I got to press on this. And so can you take me to that moment, the moment that you felt like you had this download, right? Holy Spirit download, you could call it. Take me to that moment where you're going, I got to do something more than just this. What was going on emotionally? What were you feeling at that time? And just explain that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the interesting part is, it hasn't always been this way. Just like any entrepreneur, I've had massive failures. And in 2018, I had was about to exit my company, and I guess I'll share it on this podcast. The exit happened, but it wasn't pretty. I had lost a significant amount of money that I thought was going to happen. I had a mentor at the time who, in our exit contract, there was one line that my lawyer didn't catch, and he basically took the next 2 years and used the entirety of the profits of the business to scale the company up. And so the business showed a 0 profit, which I made a specific deal with them that I would take a percentage of profit, which anybody listening who, if you exit a company, never do that.
Yeah.
Always take a set number, take a set multiple. I was young at the time. And so it kind of put me back massively, because at the time I actually, that year, while I was getting prepared to exit, I had started doing a ton of content. I made, I think, 700 videos all across different platforms. And then I was on a bunch of podcasts. I was, basically going to create this group, a different group, which I won't mention the name on here. But honestly, I think that it was actually supposed to happen because, as everyone knows on here, when you look back, it all makes sense, right? And when you're in it, it sucks. But every time I look back at that moment, I realized, one, I wasn't mature enough at the time to handle the success that was coming. I also, my wife and I weren't in a great position in our marriage. Honestly, we probably would have divorced each other. And it's very interesting how that had to happen. And then over the last, call it, I think, what is it, since 2018 and now, so 7-8 years, we rebuilt. But not only did we rebuild our financial situation, our marriage is stronger than ever. Awesome. We have two young kids, 9 and 7, and we're blessed. The kids are amazing. And so it along the way, though, one of the keys that I saw was that I didn't really have anywhere to go. Like, and I'll be honest with you, just like all men out there, high achievers, like, you don't want to look weak. Yeah. So frankly, I didn't really even tell people that the exit didn't go well. A lot of people assumed that it did. And so I put up a front and, just kind of led through that world, which is not a great place to be when you're kind of, I had a phenomenal mentor after that. And even with him, I was so weak that I didn't want to share with him the situation. Wow. And he could have helped me immensely. And so I think that for men listening, on this podcast, the biggest thing is just know that it's okay to, it's okay. You're not weak. It's just you need someone that you can go to, and that's why we created the Lighthouse Brotherhood specifically, is because we want to have basically a group that we've selected, or they self-select, however we want to look. And we're talking about these things so we can help high achieving men through some of the struggles they're facing, where in most life, you're not going to go to your church and tell all your buddies that your marriage is struggling. Instead, what's going to happen is that divorce creeps up, and then everyone's like, wait, what happened? How did that happen? Right. Yeah. So that's kind of the scenario, but it's been awesome. So looking back now with God specifically kind of working through this, lots of magic, if you want to call it, but it's really God. Like relationships came out of nowhere, cool. Finances kicked back in. And I'm a big believer in the parable, the 11th hour parable, right? Where, God will always give you back or 10 to 100x what you lost. And, and I think that I had to go through that, to basically get to where I'm at today, where again, I feel like a much more complete guy versus back then I was still insecure and I would have done stupid stuff with my money.
No, I hear that. And man, as you're talking, I'm thinking of so many things in my life. I was one that went through divorce, lost everything that I thought was, and as a man of faith, I was like, oh, God's got me the whole time. Like nothing's going to happen. And all of a sudden it all falls apart and you go, what the heck? And your life gets flipped upside down. And for me, it was a marriage, but for other guys out there, it might be business. Like that one line in the contract for you that literally uprooted everything that you thought you had. And there's so many times and there's so many moments in our life that we think, oh, we got this, we're good, everything's solid. And then when it flips upside down, it breaks apart everything that we hold true. And what I love about your story, Matt, is what I'm hearing is the breaking down, the replanting of who you were was actually what allowed you to grow and become who you are being today, and actually allowed you to become the artist that you're starting to be today. And again, around here, art doesn't mean just creativity and painting and whatnot. No, it's the art of your life and the things that you're getting to do now. The paintbrush strokes of your life now become so beautiful because of that breaking down. And so let's talk a little bit about what you were saying about how men struggle so much to be honest in those moments of like, I mean, we might have a friend circle, we might have a church group, we might have those that we work with day in and day out, but we have a hard time looking at them and saying, I'm struggling, I'm hurting, I'm in pain. One, why do you think that is? And two, what do you think we should do about it?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, and I appreciate this question, Darren, and you nailed it, is as specifically, and again, obviously all men, but high achievers specifically, right? Most of our lives, we've been this way. Let's be transparent. Like, whether it was through sports, school, and I'm not saying every single high achiever was a high achiever as a kid, but oftentimes it's the case. So our whole life, we've won in some capacity, right? And we've also been told, by coaches sometimes, or maybe parents, fathers, right? Hey, don't be weak, don't cry. Boys don't, hey, listen, you're a man, dude, like man up, just, and we still see the memes out there. I don't know if anybody sees them. Obviously there's a good push right now for men specifically, but I also will say that for about a decade, men were looked at as toxic masculinity, right? Which, from a perspective, yes, there's horrible people out there. There's bad guys that are doing bad things. But what ended up happening is traditional manhood kind of got roped into the toxic word. And it's like, taking care of your family, being, respectable in the community. But as we all know, so what happened when I was doing that Stud Muffin group chat, what kind of came up with this is all the guys in that group, and also every high achieving man, like you just shared one of your vulnerable points, Darren, every single high achiever I've ever met, they have something, right? And I know that that's part of our journey on earth, like that, we're supposed to go through some stuff so we can learn and our soul can learn and we can go back to heaven, and it's amazing. But also note that, from a male perspective, anybody who's watching this just knows, like, it's just simple. You don't want to look weak. Like you don't want to be the guy who, you don't want to look like you can't handle stuff. Right. And so, like you said, all those groups that were a part of the softball leagues that I'm in, I'm in a softball league. I'm not going to show up on a Monday night and be like, hey guys, my wife and I had a fight last night, and no, we're just there high fiving and hitting hitting softballs. And we're chatting about the Chicago Cubs and it's surface level kind of scenarios. And I think we were just taught that way, Darren, as men, to just fight through it, put your head down. No one's coming to save you. All these things that we hear all the time now. And I'm like, well, that's a good message, but it's also pretty faulty, because there's a lot of people who come to save us. all the time, and
Yeah.
people come out of nowhere. And I'm sure you have people that have popped up out of nowhere and have helped you through these challenges,
Oh
right?
yeah, for
So
sure. For sure. And I think the biggest growth area in my life always stemmed from the ability to be vulnerable enough to reach across the table and say, I'm struggling or I need help or whatever. Right. And those moments are the moments that change everything, if you will. And so I think that's huge. So what would you say to a guy, high achiever, out there doing his thing, struggling more than maybe what he wants to admit, and he's listening to this conversation or a conversation like this, and he's like, man, I need to get some help. I need to do something. I need to find a quote unquote brotherhood, but I don't know what to do. What would be some practical like steps, something that he could do that would help today?
Well, it's exciting. I have a book coming out in October,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be titled "Becoming the Lighthouse," and it's gonna be specifically for high achieving men. And we're gonna have a full chapter, which we're in the process of writing right now, step by step. And and this is not exact, but step one though is the fact that the person has admitted it. Right? That's a huge. I know that sounds interesting, but it's like this is the invisible wall I currently am facing.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this, just know that thousands of people, maybe millions of people have gone through exactly what you're going through right now. So it's not that you're the only one, which I know, we're not looking for a pity party necessarily, but also know like things happen. We're human, life comes up, financial loss, divorce, unfortunately, maybe a death in the family, something that has kind of triggered job loss, whatever it is that has triggered business failure, like that has triggered you into where you're at today. And I would say that, for those guys that are watching, like one, great, hey, I'm struggling. Who should I go to? I mean, a simple way without joining the Lighthouse Brotherhood, and that's not the goal of this today, is basically I would see if you have anyone in your current network, which most men do have someone that they can reach out to and just say, hey, man, I would love to grab a cup of coffee. I just need your perspective. Yeah. It could maybe be a pastor at your church, your priest, it could be, maybe if you go that path down that side, right? It could be, a friend, a dad, if you're lucky, maybe an uncle. Yeah. There's a lot of folks you can go to. So that would be step one, is think about in your network, who can you go to? And it's okay. I promise you this, it's going to feel awkward and it's going to feel weird. But when you admit it to the world and you admit it to someone else, and hopefully this person, you trust them, they can give you perspective. And it maybe the perspective isn't what you want to hear, but I will say that for me, anytime that I've actually shared the situation, a couple things happen. One is it impacts people because, if you go through these challenges and you can come out on the other side, that's a great story in general. But I would say that's number one, is you already admitted it. Number two is see if you have someone in your network. Number three is if, look for church groups, anything that you could possibly find that would, where you can go to that is free, and see if that helps. I'm not the biggest fan of therapy, but you can obviously go that path as well. Yeah. And when I say I'm not the biggest fan, I think it's important to go, and you can do a lot through therapy, and there's no judgment to anyone who's already done that. But I've just done a ton of research on it and found for men specifically, it's not as effective comparative to women. And and oftentimes therapists are just a sounding board. They're not actually helping solve the problem or the solution, right? They're just there to let you talk it out, which again is very powerful.
Yeah. So what would you suggest then on that front, battling against that? Like, okay, for men then what would be the solution there?
Yeah. So I think that, I would personally, again, if you have the ability to build a, small group, get 3 guys, maybe 4 guys, and just tell them, set the actual expectation. Like, hey, we're going to be a brotherhood, right? We're going to connect. Yeah. We're going to hold each other accountable. Obviously we're here. If you can't do that, which I sometimes happens, right? Mm-hmm. Then there's so many good men's groups out there, guys. Like I can name a handful right now, but I don't want to promote everybody. But basically, just Google. Google. There's Man on Fire. Well, I'll mention a couple really good ones. Man on Fire, Wake Up Warrior. There's Rising Kings. There's some really great men's groups out there already.
Coming soon, the Lighthouse Brotherhood.
Coming soon,
there
the Lighthouse
it is.
Brotherhood.
Come
right?
on now.
But again, the cool part is that there's not a one size fits all place.
Sure.
It's figuring out who do you connect with and like where do you think you're going to get the biggest growth.
Yeah.
And some guys need to literally be kicked in the ass, excuse my language, and then other guys that are like, hey, I need some tools and resources and support to get through this specific scenario.
Yeah.
And I think that's our challenge right now is we do so much as high achievers in business. We have metrics and KPIs and all these things these operating systems, if you will. And then in our life, we don't. We just wing it, right? We wing our marriages. We wing it as fathers, and we just don't. We wing it. We wing it with our relationship with God. Oftentimes, we're like, yeah, we prayed today, but there's no system behind it or no structure. And I think that that's really what we're going to bring to the table with the Lighthouse Brotherhood is we're bringing the Lighthouse operating system to the world, and it's going to be really, really cool because we're going to be basically giving out step by step, and some of it's going to be basic stuff, and we can talk about that, Darren, but that's what I'm most excited about is bringing that mentality to our lives and our different categories of our lives and being able to win in each category.
No, I love that, Matt. And I want to kind of double click on that a little bit here, because I think you bring up something that is, if I look at my life, I could easily say that is true, where it's a couple of things happen. One, I just kind of let it be what it is. My relationship with my kids will be what it is, or my relationship with God or my wife will be kind of what it is. We'll do the thing. Oh yeah, we should do a date night tonight. Okay, let's go do that. Or I should hang out with my kids. Hey, yeah, we should do that now. That happens, but then there's also the other play of with all of the things swirling around in our heads that we're carrying, that we're walking with, that we're holding on our shoulders, that it's easy for us to kind of numb out a little bit, right? And just to kind of unplug because we don't know what to do or how to do it, or we've heard Matt say we should do more of this or do more of that. And it's like, yeah, I know, but what? And what you're saying is, man, creating a system, much like we would in our business, to achieve the things and the KPIs that we want to hit, you want to put an operating system in for those things in our life. Talk a little bit about that. What does that look like, and how are you seeing success in doing that?
Yeah, so I think the cool part is it kind of hit me, and interesting enough, all my business partners who work with me, I'm more of what you'd consider a sales guy. I can take a business from the ground up and get it popping, and then when it comes to call it dashboards and CRM systems and all of that, like my brain for some reason I have to have someone set it up, and then I'm just like, hey, send me the report.
You and me both, buddy. You and me both. Hey, quick pause here. If you are thinking about starting a podcast or have already started one and it's not driving business results like you would like it to, we would love to help. At 1898 Creative, we install a proven podcast system, a strategy that helps you leverage your message to attract premium clients without adding more to your plate. So if you're ready to turn your podcast into an authority engine, book a call over at 1898creative.com and let's build something awesome together. All right, now let's get back to the conversation.
The big thing is that I learned, for me, I am a very structured guy. And when I did bodybuilding, 8 years ago, everything came down to it was very, very specific. I knew exactly what workout I was going to do. I knew what the negative was going to be on my bench press, like in terms of how many seconds I needed to count while I was bringing the weight to my chest. I knew exactly how much protein I was going to eat. I knew exactly how many calories. I had a Oura ring at the time. I have a Whoop on now. And it was very structured, and I knew exactly what I needed. And then I tracked my weight, and so what I tracked was my body fat percentage, which was obviously the most important at that time. And so when I look at the fitness side, and then I look at our businesses, right? Most successful business owners, like they know how many leads they're getting, how much sales they're making, their conversion rate, how their funnel is working, right? If they're doing something like that. They know exactly hopefully they know what their profit margin is, right? Yeah. So it's interesting because in those two scenarios specifically, like there's so much in the world of like, let's go do this. But when it comes to being a father, for example, there really isn't a system out there. We're just like, all right, we got kids now.
Yeah.
I'm going to duplicate what my dad did, or I'm not going to duplicate what my dad did because he wasn't a good dad.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, well, how do we know if we're winning in that category? It's very challenging sometimes because obviously we don't know until the kids are older. But here's what I found is that, in that specific one, call it the Lighthouse Father, one of the things that we are big on, and I challenge every man that has kids that are watching this podcast, like, just do this one simple thing. And it's very simple, is every night, and I know simple doesn't mean easy, but every single night, put your phone away for 30 minutes. And I truly mean this, like, lock it in a different room, like put it in a completely different spot in the house and literally just be with your kids. Let them actually like talk, let them share their day. And 20, 30 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but I promise you this, like, if you do this regularly and consistently, you're going to have a much better connection with your kids. They're going to listen more, right? It's going to be very, very interesting. And I promise that win, but like, just that simple metric, right? Yeah. I can track that every day. I can say, hey, I spent my 20 minutes. Now, again, you want to be cautious of black or white. If you have more time, go spend more time with your kids, right? But if you're busy, I see a lot of guys, like you said, they numb out, right? They come home from work, they come home from the office, they come home from the business, and they put their feet up, they turn the game on, which I'm a huge sports fan, so I watch sports all the time, but they put their feet up, they crack a beer, and then the kids are just over there doing whatever. And then the kids grow up and they're like, man, why don't my kids want to hang out with me in their 20s and 30s, right? So that for me, I don't have a lot of fears in life, but that's one of my only fears is I want my kids to want to spend time with me when they don't have to spend time with me, right? And so like that's just a simple scenario. But if we go into the specifics, Darren, I'll use marriage as an example. You said something date night, for example. My wife and I specifically now, and this is a very specific system that we have. And it's not like I created this, by the way. I just robbed and duplicated other people in it. And
man,
that's all we
steal like an artist. I like to say, man, steal like an artist. Come on now.
Yeah. And so I'm not the creator of this, but I also will tell you that it's changed our entire marriage. We meet once a quarter and we do what's called a quarterly business meeting with my wife.
That's awesome.
Now, do we call it a business? Do we do it a business meeting? No, we call it a family meeting. We actually go through our financials together. And, I report to her. She doesn't like to get into the numbers anymore. She used to, but she just wants to know, hey, are we good? Are we good? And I just give her a quick report. Like, here's where we're at. Here's what our investments are looking like. Boom, boom, boom. Making sure she knows we're stable. We're good to go in our next quarter here. We go through our kids' schedules. We go through what sports they're going to play. We basically get very specific on our relationship with the kids. When are we going to do what we call, obviously this is in the Lighthouse Father side, but we do date nights with our kids. We do them separate. So we separate. So I just had a daddy-daughter date here last Sunday, and then my son and I are going to do and you can call it a daddy-son date, whatever. Some men are like, no, I'm going to call it something different, but we call it that. But it's basically treating your family, right? The husband, the identity of the husband, the identity of the father, and every man that's listening to this is different. You don't have to be me. I'm a very involved dad. I love it. I've always wanted to be a dad. I coach all my kids' sports teams. You don't have to do that. You just need to know, though, that just those small little touches where you're actually present and intentional will actually help you succeed. And this is a weird thing to say on a podcast like this, but my wife and I, we started scheduling our sex life, right? And I know that sounds nuts for some people listening, but we have a 9 and a 7-year-old. They still like to cuddle in, like, and we're exhausted at the end of the day. Like, and then even if like during the day, the wife's like, hey, she gives you the googly eyes. 99% of the time, we all know this, guys, is by the time we get to the end of the night, one, we're toast, right? And two, she's probably fell asleep in the, cuddling the kid to sleep. And then you're like, well, I guess it's not happening again, right? So I think it's just one is just be intentional, but two is just having a system and a process that you can actually say, cool, and putting it on the calendar and actually scheduling out in advance and then making it a non-negotiable where my date nights with my wife are non-negotiable. Nothing comes in the way of that. If a client calls, sorry, I'll lose the sale over missing my wife's, I'll lose that sale if I have to. to make sure that I keep my marriage flowing and strong. Same thing with my kids. So I know that was a lot, Darren.
No,
but
Matt,
it's exciting.
that was a masterclass right there in understanding that stuff. And I think it's funny, man, because growing up, I was never an operation type minded person, right? I'm creative, I'm visionary, I'm just like kind of here, there, new shiny object. Let's try this, let's go there. And in the last handful of years, as the business started to get the operations piece like you were talking about, you're seeing the KPIs put together. You're seeing this is the process we do for this and the process we do for that. Shout out to Dustin. If you've watched this podcast, he's really helped me on the operations side of things from my business standpoint. But what I love what you're saying there is this idea of creating that within your personal life. And I've seen it where I've taken a few of those things from like what I've learned from a business standpoint and tried to apply it to, okay, we're going to have, on the calendar certain things, right? This is when this meeting happens or this meeting happens. But it's easy for me to kind of just go, it's no big deal. I'm not going to do it. It's just my family. It's just my kids' time. It's just like you can easily skip over it. But what I'm hearing you say is, man, to get intentional, to be specific with these things, if the goal for your life is to have a good relationship with your wife or your kids or your family in some way, you got to be intentional with it, and you got to put strategic pieces in place that actually make it happen. Like, I know, like you said, it's so simple, but just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. It's actually very complex, right?
Yeah, and just to jump in real quick, Darren, and this is for the guys out there right now, and they're like, okay, what's the ROI?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
What's the return on investment, right? Because that's how a lot of us think as high
achievers.
Sure. Like, okay, well, Matt, you're saying that you're going to lose a sale, you're going to lose revenue, you're going to lose income over a date night? Like, what the heck, man? Here's the deal is that the ROI is joy. And this doesn't require, when you actually schedule this out, you're going to realize pretty quickly that it's actually not as intense as it sounds.
Wow.
And we do 2 date nights a month that we schedule out for 3 hours, right? And they're phenomenal. Beautiful. Like, they're amazing. It's twice a month. My wife and I, no kids, no phones. We can go out to dinner. We can do an activity. This time we're doing a date night this weekend. Here's the truth. I know some of you guys are going to make fun of me. I'm a huge movie guy, but my wife wants to see the Devil Wears Prada, right? And I'm like, you know what? Let's go. And we're not going to necessarily do a lot of connection there in the sense of talking, but we're going to just enjoy each other's presence and just be together and enjoy something, an activity. And so it sounds very intense, but if you really do the math, the return on investment of just the time is insane. It's not a couple things. One, it's going to keep you connected to your significant other. It's going to keep you connected to your kids. You're going to feel more joy. I promise you that. You're going to feel more love. Your wife, by the way, and we'll talk about one fun thing on here. Your wife, you will start seeing a different version of her in the sense of she's going to want to be with you more intimately as well because you're connected.
Wow.
And it's really, really exciting. And then one of the biggest things for the ROI perspective for me personally is you're going to make more money in your business. And the reason is that you're going to have more stability in your household. Your wife's going to feel powerful. She's going to probably take care of you more.
Interesting.
And your kids in general are going to behave better. So you're not going to be dealing with a bunch of the crap and stress that comes from all that as well. So I think that and again, for the guys who are like, Matt, like, I get it. I want to be a better dad. I want to be a better husband, but man, oh man, like, this sounds like an intense schedule that you're keeping.
Yeah.
It's actually not too crazy when you actually schedule it out. But also, like I said earlier, like, don't try to go implement this whole thing tomorrow. You're going to just like going to the gym and trying to lift 7 days a week if you haven't been doing it. That's what can break you. Just start with something small. Like I said, 20 minutes, 30 minutes a night, phone free with the kid. Once a week with your wife, literally an hour, just go sit with her on the couch, cuddle, right? Like, do something simple and start working your way into it. And then over time, you can implement it. When I started doing quarterly meetings with my wife, I'll tell you, the first 2, she thought we were crazy. She didn't want to do the first one because she was like, why do we need a business meeting? Like, what are you talking about, Matt? And here we've done 9 now total over the last 2.5 years. We have our 10th coming up here shortly, and she can't wait for it.
Wow.
And the reason is it gives us clarity. It allows for us to move into the next quarter. We feel so connected. My business, she's not in my companies. So obviously so again, from those businesses, I'm over here running over here. She's doing her thing. She's a powerful engineer. She's leaving her corporate job here in a couple months, which is exciting. But again, we feel more connected than ever before. And we feel like we're on the same page and we're running the same direction. And I make it super fun when we do these quarterly meetings. We only meet for 1 hour for all the stuff, call it legalized stuff, right? The rest of it is if you can't afford this, you can do this at your house. Like, you don't need to go crazy. Yeah. But what we do is we get a nice hotel down in downtown Chicago. We do a nice dinner. She loves Starbucks. There's a Starbucks Reserve downtown. We go to there. We actually do our business meeting there because she loves it.
Oh, that's cool.
And I wrapped it around a special date night that now is she's pumped for them, because now we get crystal clear on where we're headed. And it's changed our entire life. Like, just these quarterly meetings have changed how we feel together, our intimacy, everything. It's insane. And I want to impose that. That's why, again, we're creating this brotherhood. Obviously, we're creating a brotherhood for community and strong men to come together. Like, we want that. But we also want to give these tools and resources that can honestly set people up and, set people up for success in their different categories of their life, which, again, I promise you this, is if you win if you're winning at home, you're going to win in business. And there's a direct correlation. And I can't impose that enough.
Yeah. Matt, that is so good, and such a good, strong challenge for us, if you're going to do one thing, right, implement this quarterly, family business meeting, if you will, or implement your date nights with the kids and your wife in a strategic and set up way. Like, if somebody simply did that today, it might change everything for them. It might change everything.
If you're okay with me jumping in, Dan, I promise to the guys out there that want to be better dads. Take your daughter, take your son on an individual date night, and they are jacked. We do them quarterly, and so we do them once every quarter. And here's the deal. It doesn't have to be anything special. Like, I let them plan with me. So I don't plan it. I say, hey, let's do it together. Here's the fun part. My daughter, she's 7. She can't, can she hit a golf ball? Sure. But she's like, let's go to Topgolf. Yeah. And our whole entire date night was Topgolf. And here's the fun part. She put on it was cute, the cutest thing in the world. She put on this beautiful dress. And I didn't tell her to. She came down, and I treat her just like I would if I was truly dating her. Right. And we went over, we had our date. Here's the fun part. I got to hit some golf balls. I got to do Topgolf.
Sure.
It doesn't always happen that way. We had some delicious food, and I promise you, the way it lights her up, like, she was so lit up, and that alone will give you, will give you that. And here's what they've actually done with research with children now is kids don't remember they don't remember. Let's be honest. If I said, tell me about your childhood, you're going to talk about experiences. Yeah. And these are the things, like, even if you're busy as heck and you can't do the 20 minutes a night, like, if you do this alone, I promise you're going to be way more connected with your kids. And guess what they're going to remember when they get older? They're going to remember those daddy-daughter dates, right? So they're going to remember the daddy-son get-together, right? And it's fun because now my daughter's like, all right, what are we going to do next time? I'm like, well, let's put it on the calendar. You bring the ideas, and I'll let you know if we can make it happen. Man. And I'm excited when they get a little bit older. We'll start doing bigger stuff, like, and again, I want to be cautious when I say this. Like, do what's best for your finances. Sure. You don't even need to go to Topgolf. Do something where you go to a park and you just spend the day with her at a park. But I'm excited. Eventually, one of our goals is going to be to do one trip a year with my wife taking my son and me taking my daughter, and us separating and us being able to give them that vacation, that one-off where we're just together for a longer window. But I can get excited, as you can see.
No, it's so good.
This is my passion, man.
It's so good. And Matt, that's what I love. I'm just sitting here going, like, almost getting emotional about it. Just thinking of, I took my son out to Topgolf actually last month, and dude, he still talks about it. Hey, when are we going to go golfing again? And just like how much fun he had in that moment, and the fact that, Yeah, I'm just really challenged by this, Matt. I'm challenged just in my own life to go. I've probably tried a few of these things. I've dabbled in these things a little bit, but to commit, to put them on the calendar, to say I'm not going to give up. I'm going to battle for this, you know. And I think that's what, you know, speaking of men's group, we had a men's night at our church here this last month that I went to, and it was called Battle Ready. And it wasn't like, in the whole time he was like, it's not about this like battle that you're going to like, you know, go into, but it's more of like the mindset of going, if I don't show up and do what you've outlined here, Matt, like put the things on the calendar, move beyond the uncomfortable feeling of the first few times of doing it to actually start to kind of battle for your family in this way. Like you're just going to shrink back. You're just going to kind of go, well, we'll let school teach them. We'll let them teach them. We'll let this happen. And the minute that we do that is the minute that we lose. And we gotta step up and be, you know, what they were saying at this men's night was battle ready in our families that way. And that's what I'm hearing you say, man. You're just going, guys, come on. Like, let's level up. Let's step into it. Let's not shrink back. Let's actually make this thing work. And that's going to change not only our lives, but also the lives of our kids and our wife and our families. Like, man, I'm just challenged by that, dude. It's so good.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is the world is shifting, which is exciting, but there's been a huge push against family unit, and you probably felt that, Darren. I don't know if you have, like, husband, wife in the household, and the studies are just through the roof. And again, I got to be cautious because I can't quote it exactly or even reference where I heard this stuff, but like the father in the household, right? And this is where it gets wild. If there's a father, an involved dad, and it doesn't have to be over the top. I know millennial fathers like ourselves were more involved than ever before, like 5X what our dads were, right? And it's the way the world has shifted. But again, like just being involved and intentional, like your kids will have an 80 to 90% success rate. And when I say that, that doesn't mean they're going to be millionaires and all that. It just means they're going to be able to live a normal life without trauma. Like, they're not going to have to struggle through all the crap that some of us had to go through. And I was blessed. My dad is the man, and we'll talk about that on one of our podcasts. But I got lucky. You know, my dad. I'll share a real quick blurb.
Yeah, please do.
It's important. Is for me, my dad grew up horrible. He was in a foster care system, single mother. Mom gave up, sent him into the care. He got lucky. He found she became my grandmother. But along the way, lots of abuse, physically, mentally, and he became an alcoholic when he was in his early 20s. He stopped drinking before we were born, and he could have been a horrible dad. He could have walked away, but he actually adopted my older brother as well, changed his whole entire life. And my dad is literally like, he's not financially, I love you, Dad. You're not financially successful, but you are freaking successful in the sense of love and being able to raise kids. And so I was blessed to have him. And when I look back at that, I'm so grateful because he stopped all the generational curses from coming to us. Man. And that's what you can do out there. You can be like my dad. Like if you had a horrible childhood and you don't know how to be a father, right? And you're just maybe you're crushing it in life right now. Like, just know that there's other men out there that will work with you and help you, right? And that's the fun part. And there's other good leaders out there, and that's really what we want. And you know, I know we're getting kind of on time here, Darren, but it's interesting because in my book, my number one goal, and it made me cry the other day. It's funny because it made me cry. I'm a crier only during movies. My wife hates it because my kids make fun of me. We're at like a cartoon and I'm crying because the characters had emotional.
Yeah, for sure.
So they make fun of Dad for that. And it's funny because at our wedding, I didn't cry. I was actually more like hyperventilating. I'm like, oh shit, boy, I'm doing this. But but so she's like, you cry at movies, but you didn't cry at the wedding. But it's funny because, you know, in the book, it's in chapter 8, which is where we're at right now, where we got 3 more chapters to write. And it was awesome because what the whole purpose of the brotherhood is, and I know I'm coming back to that, and you can create your own brotherhood. It doesn't have to be the Lighthouse Brotherhood. It could be your church group, like you said. Like, that's awesome. Like, go find those scenarios. But I can't wait to be 80, 90 years old, and I'm sitting at a table with the other men, and we're sitting there, and we had gone through 40 to 50 years of life together. We've helped each other through it. and it's giving me the shivers. I feel the Holy give me the shivers. And so it's so exciting because what I'm most pumped about, and this is it made me cry, is imagine that your sons now, right? And the Lighthouse Brotherhood, the whole purpose of this is imagine that your sons are living and we didn't get into like what the lighthouse means and all that, but that's fine. But basically they're now living a lighthouse life, right? Their family unit is strong. Their kids are have a lighthouse father in their home. And your son is now part of your brotherhood. He's one of your brothers, right? Like imagine your daughter has married one of the guys that is in the brotherhood, and you get an opportunity as a father to mentor your son-in-law instead of the opposite direction. Like imagine you're mentoring him, and you know for a fact that your daughter is protected and she's in a great relationship, and you're not concerned in that light. And it's just exciting. It gets me pumped to know that no matter how many men we help and how many families we help, the most exciting part is for me is I know that that's what my goal is. And I want my kids, like my whole purpose as a dad is to challenge the crap out of them, excuse my language, but two is I want them to want to spend time with me when they don't have to. Like that's my whole entire mantra. And I don't tell them that. I want them when they get older, I want them to spend time with me. Right. And my wife, we all know, guys, and again, Darren, you went through divorce. Like it's tough. Like marriage is not easy, especially when you're going with young kids. It's like it's not an easy thing. And so it's a business partnership in a sense of not in the standard sense of it, but it is a legalized agreement, and you're basically building something together. And that's why these KPIs and systems work so well, because they allow you to slow down and actually have these checkpoints to make sure that you don't lose your wife along the way or she loses. And here's the truth, guys that are watching. What's going on right now is on your wife's social media, there's all these women out there that are single and whatever, and they're posting about it, right? And if you're not giving your wife what she needs, guess what she's listening to? She's getting this influence from this world that's saying, hey, that, and the number one initiator of divorce right now is women, right? It's actually pretty intense. It's like I think 70% of divorces or so, and again, don't quote me on that, are initiated by the wife. And it's because the world is telling her that she's better off without being married. So I think that it's really exciting. I can get deeper on everything, but it gets as like you said, this is your create your podcast, and this is my art, man. It just hypes me up, and it's I can't wait to get this message out to the world, and we can help families. Basically, is what I'm most pumped about.
Yeah, Matt. So as we land the plane here, where can people get information about the Lighthouse Brotherhood? Obviously, at the time of this recording, it's on a wait list. It's about to launch. We got the podcast rolling that you've been working with us on. That's super good. Like I just was watching it, episode 1 the other day. I was like, bro, this is going to change some people's lives too. But like, talk about the Lighthouse Brotherhood. If somebody's like, bro, I got to get into something like that, where can they go? How can they get more access to that?
Yeah, I love it. So you can follow me on, Matt Balducci on Facebook, or LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. Just Matt Balducci. But the Lighthouse Brotherhood specifically, we have a landing page, lighthousebh.co. So .co. So lighthousebh.co.
And we'll link all that in the description and all that fun stuff. So they'll get access to it. So yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. What about your book? Tell us a little bit about that. You said October. So at the time of this recording, there's a little bit of time before that drops. But is there anything out there that they can get access to, or should they stay tuned on your Facebook and LinkedIn?
Yeah, so it's I'm a numbers guy. That's a whole nother topic. And so October 22nd is my birthday.
Nice.
And it's a power day. And so we're going to launch the book October 22nd, 2026. We're finalizing it. We don't have anything prepared yet. We're actually in the process. We're at chapter 8. We're going to have 11 chapters.
That's awesome.
And it's going to be really, really pumped. But a lot of stuff we're talking about today is going to be in the book. And then a little bit more deeper of my story, and also not just my story, but other men that I've worked with and their stories, because there's a lot of guys out there that are amazing humans, and all they just don't have the brotherhood, the community to go to, and that's what we want to build.
Yeah.
So,
well, I love that. And so if you're listening to this in the future, and it's like, 2027 or 28, you can go find his book right now. But for those of you listening in this year, stay tuned. Go follow Matt and hang out with him and wait for him to launch that on October 22nd. But Matt, I want to say something, man. Artists, like in the traditional sense, put together paintings or music or graphics that capture our heart, that tell us a story, that elevate our thinking, that really challenge us to see the world in a different way. And what you have done today is all of that and more. And so that's why I say that you are an artist, my friend, and putting this together and challenging us to think differently about the way that we might show up for our families, for our friends, for our kids, our wives, our businesses. That's a beautiful thing, man. And so I'm so appreciative of your art and the thing that you're putting into the world. And I'm glad that we've connected through 1898 Creative and all that kind of fun stuff that we get to do together. But thank you for taking the time, sharing your heart, sharing your art with us. And dude, you're awesome, man. You are awesome.
I appreciate you, Darren, and you're awesome. And anybody who's listening, Darren and his crew are the best. And we're pumped that we connected with them as well. So thank you, Darren, for the time too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, as we finish, I want you to remember three things: that your voice is needed in this world more than you know. You are loved more than you can ever imagine, and you are an artist. So go out and create your art, and we'll see you here next time on the Create Your Art podcast.